The recent wave of defections to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, has been grabbing the headlines for days. Last week, the defection of key stakeholders of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Delta State to the APC drew harsh criticism from concerned Nigerians, who slammed the idea of a one-party state while some praised the move. In Kano, the APC also received defectors from the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP. The high-profile decampees include Senator Abdurrahman Sumaila, who represents Kano South Senatorial District, and Kabiru Rurum, the member representing Rano Kibiya Bunkure Federal Constituency. Reacting to the current defections, the chairman of the Board of Trustees, BOT, of the main opposition People's Democratic Party, Senator Adolphus Wabara, has declared that the All Progressives Congress will soon implode as a result of the defection of PDP members who will displace loyal APC members who labored to build the ruling party. Joining us to discuss the recent wave of defections to the APC from opposition parties is Kenneth Okonkwo, a lawyer and spokesperson for the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election. Welcome to the morning show, Kenneth Okonkwo. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abati. It's my pleasure being here. Thank you, viewers, for joining us. And our young Nigerian wife, Imba, it's my pleasure being here with you.
Thank you. You're getting younger by the day, actually.
Young lady. She's a young lady, according to Chief Body Judge.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, my brother. Now, first, let's start with some clarification. You were very active in the Labour Party. You were there in the court, all the way to the Supreme Court, defending Mr. Peter Obi and the Labour Party. But you switched. In some of your recent comments, you have been saying, well, nobody can remove President Tinubu except they have a coalition. Sometimes I was confused. I thought, okay, maybe Kenneth Okonkwo is now in the APC. Let us clarify where you belong to right now. Are you in the APC? We know you have left Labour Party, or you are on your way to the APC, which seems to be the trend, because you have said no single candidate can remove President Tinubu. So my assumption is that very soon we'll hear that you are also firmly in the APC. This is the season of defections. What do you think about this current up and down in Nigerian politics?
Well, first and foremost, I do not join a party, or let me say, I do not leave a party because of another party. So I leave a party because of the party itself. And when I want to join another party, it's because of that party, not because I'm looking for anything. When I resigned from APC, I made it clear that I cannot follow a president who is insensitive to our spirit of diversity. He chose a fellow Muslim to give us same faith ticket. Has that changed? I made it clear that Nigeria being a diverse nation, anybody that will not respect our religious diversity will not respect our ethnic diversity. Have I not been proved right? If APC wants me to join APC, these are my conditions. They promised Nigeria that 1 naira should be $1. Have they done that? When they do it, let them come calling, and I will consider them. Nigeria is a diverse nation where the presidency is an association between the president and the vice. And the Nigerian constitution is very clear that every association must cut across religious and ethnic barriers. So any president that is choosing a man of same faith ticket and then choosing only the people from his own people or the people he perceives are his own people to be in governance is a president that unapologetically behaves in a very unconstitutional manner. He has no respect for rule of law. And Aristotle made it clear that rule of law will always be preferable to rule of an individual. Appetite for material things and other self-centered desires perverts holders of office. Apart from sapping our energy, draining our life and enthusiasm, there is nothing else that this government has achieved for Nigeria. And then contemplating that me, that entered politics for the welfare of the people, shall join an APC that is insensitive to the people's welfare, that has punished Nigerians with hunger and hardship. The World Bank report now said that Nigeria will sink further into poverty till 2027. That in Tinubu's regime, there is no hope for recovery from poverty. And they gave their reasons: structural economic weaknesses, dependence on oil revenue, national fragility. In other words, national conflicts. Look at what's happening in Plateau State. More than 100 persons have died, massacred by unknown people. And the president was in Paris and could not even cut his travel short to commiserate with people from Plateau State. Look at what's happening in Rivers State. A president declared martial law and removed constitutionally elected representatives of the people. And look at what's happening in Benue State. People dying. All the things this president has given Nigeria is tears and blood. And you want to say Kenneth Okonkwo will contemplate going into such an association? I tell you what Dove said, man, said. He said toxic leaders are energy vampires, draining life and enthusiasm out of the people they lead. You want my life and enthusiasm to be drained? No. I reject APC as presently constituted, as a party that does not live up to its promise, as a party that has inflicted Nigeria with hunger and hardship, as a party that does not recognize our diversity, as a party that has given us nothing except tears and blood. A land that God created to flow with oil, with wealth, with gold, is now flowing with tears and blood. Count me out of that unholy association. For now, I am a member of the coalition. And we are moving in that direction to solidify the unity amongst all the opposition forces to take out this government that, according to Senator Ndume, is a government of kakistocrats and kleptocrats, the government of worst of us, and the government of desperate thieves. According to Aristotle, he said when man is separated from law and justice, he becomes the worst of animals. And Plato made it clear that man separated from law is the most savage beast. We have been reintroduced to the state of nature by this government, where life, according to Thomas Hobbes, has become solitary, nasty, brutish, poor, and of course short. That is what we're suffering in this country.
We appreciate, I love the philosophy and almost spoken word that you're giving us this morning. Very, very inspirational indeed. I love that you've mentioned this coalition, because what I wanted to ask you initially is that the writing on the wall seems to appear that there is a north and south divide. And it's seeming like this grand coalition that is being marketed for the moment, the body language reads towards the north. So are you saying that you're behind a potential movement that will push forward a northern candidate if that's what it will take to defeat the incumbent?
Well, 2023, I was consumed with the fact that there was an agreement between North and South that the North should have power for 8 years, the South should have power for 8 years. And I ran under that canopy. And then we produced a Southern president. However that came. In 2027, it is a different ball game because we are now in the half of the match. If you say you want to bring another Southerner who is not Tinubu to come in, the North will say he's going to spend 8 years. And then that will still breach the agreement. And now that Tinubu is incomparably bad, would you say you give him another 4 years? That we will continue to sink, according to World Bank report, into further poverty and misery? Now, if you get a Northerner who will commence a rule in the middle of the game, would you say that if he spends 8 years, it has not become injustice? It will. Now, if you are in a coalition democratically, how do you choose somebody that will be acceptable by all his colleagues? These are very tough issues. And what I have decided is that, look, there is 4 more years that is remaining. Because we may not be able to choose anybody by selection and make the person to have the buy-in of all the other contestants, let there be an open primary election between North and South in a coalition. Whoever wins should agree to do 4 years to compensate for the injustice that will be meted out to any section. If another Southerner who is not Tinubu wins, he must say that he will do 4 more years to complete Tinubu's regime. If a Northerner wins, then let him do 4 years so that it will return back to the South. Because that is the only way that we may be able to stop this government that has become incurably bad. According to John Locke, when a government becomes destructive of the fundamental human rights of the people, they have the right in a social contract to alter the government, to change it or abolish it altogether. This government needs to be changed, and you have to give in something in order to get something. So basically, that is the only justice of the situation that I have seen. Where did I learn this from? I learned it from Tinubu himself. In 2015, Tinubu sided with the Northerners against Ruben Abati's principle. And the South-South, they were pleading, let them complete their term. But Tinubu, out of self-preservation, out of the below-come philosophy, he said no. He aligned with the North and chose one of his own to be the vice president. He preferred the power going back to the North rather than remaining in the South, so that it will pave way for him in the next 8 years to become president. And that is why he's president today, because of that strategy. So in between the game, and when the incumbent is found wanting, the only way to move forward is by this method that I have enunciated.
Well, I'm enjoying myself. I mean, listening to you is like I'm back in one of these classes that I took many years ago, Philosophical Problems and Analysis, where we talked about Plato, Aristotle, Jeremy Bentham, John Locke, and all the philosophers. I'm enjoying myself. But let me ask you a question. This coalition that you say you have joined, do you think that the coalition, as presently proposed, can take Tinubu out of power in 2027? And I ask that because I've read an opinion by Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, former governor, former senator, in which he said, look, the coalition will be making a mistake if the emphasis is on individuals rather than political parties. And that so far, what we're hearing is a meeting of individuals. Nasir Rufai, Atikwa, Peter Obi, going to visit people, going to attend events. And his argument is that, look, this is not about individuals. For you to form a proper coalition, you need to carry the political parties along. Even the Social Democratic Party, is now saying, well, we are not part of this merger. PDP governors have said, no, we are not going to be part of it. So how do you form a coalition? And Mr. Nonuga just issued a statement and said, there's nothing called coalition. The coalition is even dead, before it gains any traction. What do you think of those criticisms?
Well, we are more than 2 years to the next election. Ruben Abati, you will agree, even in saner climes, we ought not to be talking about election now. We ought to be talking about administration. And administration has to be at least 2 years before you even contemplate talking about strategies for the next election. Unfortunately, the problems of Nigeria have made most politicians to be looking out for the next election, not for the next generation. So 24 hours, they say, is too long in politics, and you're talking about more than 2 years. Obviously, it took many years before even APC had to be coupled together. So what we are saying is that let the dialogue continue. I was privileged to be a spokesperson in 2023 election. We came on board about 3 months to the time. 3 months to the time, and we overwhelmed the whole system. And you're talking about more than 2 years. The people are the residue of power in a democracy. In 24 hours, if they make up their mind on something and they insist on it, that's the end of the whole thing. What is keeping Tinubu in office now? Because for me, he's already out. What is keeping him in office? What is making people to defect to APC is because of their belief that we are not a nation of law and justice, but a nation ruled by an individual. They believe that if Tinubu sanctions you, no matter what the people think, you are already in there. Let's take the case of Delta State. You understand that Ned Nwoko said that his governor is not a performing governor, and that his governor has not seen the light and has been antithetical to the development of his people. And this was the reason he entered APC. Remember that Omo Agege, for instance, has been nourishing the ambition to be the governor of Delta State. And he also is in APC, welcoming people in. Remember that Festus Keyamo has not been a fan to Omo Agege. And you know what? Oborowere himself, fearing that these people will now use that federal might against him, said the best strategy now, because he has not given us any economic, political, or social indices that APC is performing that made him to join APC. He said he is joining APC too. Why? Self-preservation, which is the law of nature in a state of nature. And now, what do you think will happen in Delta State? You want to tell Omo Agege to throw away his gubernatorial ambition? You may have something else coming. It is easier to steal the mace in the National Assembly than for Omo Agege to give up his gubernatorial ambition. And are you telling Senator Ned Nwoko to now go and fall for Oborowere that he has declared persona non grata in Delta State? So APC is already imploding and will continue to implode until they are blown to smithereens. And we are talking 2 years to the election. I've made it clear that everybody joining APC now will regret it. Because how do you think a nation of 200 million persons will tolerate to continue to be in ad infinitum poverty, ad infinitum hunger, and hardship? Power resides with the people. When the people will speak, all these walls will crash. I can tell you,
Barrister,
in Nigeria, especially the opposition parties, have not behaved well. They have not carried themselves well. And when such a thing happens, what you see is that the old will die. It will be buried. And that old will form.
Oh, okay, Barrister Okonkwo.
That will take over this country by the grace of God.
Okay. Now, some might say that our biggest challenge that has brought us to where we are now is the lack of ideology in politics. And what's the root cause of that? The root cause is all of these mergers and coalitions of strange bedfellows that come together for the purposes of being able to take power. So what you're describing with APC sounds like an occupational hazard that will befall whatever coalition you're all putting together. Strange bedfellows, again, coming together strategically to try and take power. It sounds like you're committing the same sin, just from a different ticket. What would you say to that?
Well, when APC came together to form APC, they were the strangest of fellows. People from New PDP, from half portion of APGA, from CPC, from ANPP, and all other ACN. They were the strangest of fellows. But yet, they were able to make the commensurate sacrifice. They were able to know that they have a common enemy in the ruling PDP. And they pocketed their individual preferences and went for the common good of them. Remember, the whole idea of setting up a political party is to protect the interest of your members. They were able to harness themselves very well, organized a primary for their presidential candidates, all of them, in a purported free and fair election. And when somebody emerged, they supported the person and they won the incumbent. So the strangest of fellows can always come together when there is a national crisis as we have now, and they will pocket their individual ambitions for the collective good of the
Barrister
people.
Barrister Okonkwo, if I may just interject.
Yes.
So, I mean, I have no doubt that elites are always able to come together to find common ground when it suits their interests. But my question here is really around the people. Can these coalitions, have they really served Nigeria and delivered the dividends of democracy to the people? Another coalition, is it not another recipe for disaster? Another 4 years of infighting, power grabbing, this and so forth. Is that really the answer?
Well, let me first of all concede to you has not produced reasonable result for the people. But you see, you cannot give up. You can only learn from your experience. Use your experience in your today's experiment to achieve your expectation tomorrow. We cannot give up. We cannot succumb to the blackmail of tyrants. We cannot succumb to the blackmail of the kakistocrats and the kleptocrats, because they will blackmail you that the coalition in the past has not worked. That does not mean you will not try again. Continue to try. If you fail 99% of the time, that 1% that you will succeed, you would have learned 99% of how not to fail. We will continue in this country until we get it right. I agree with you, the coalition has not worked in the past. That does not mean the coalition will not work in the present. We will form a coalition, because you have to secure the ground first before looking for the mats. You have to get power before thinking about the welfare of the people. So what I have said personally is that I would not be buyable. I will not be purchasable. I will say my mind. Am I perfect? Yet, but it will not be based on lack of integrity. Everything I will do shall proceed from the integrity of my heart and innocence of my hands. When I make mistakes, I will change. You have to be the change that you are looking for in people. I left my comfort zone as an actor, the prime actor for that matter, the foremost actor, looking for the welfare of Nigerians, and I will get it because I'm ready to make the commensurate sacrifice to get there. You may have seen that I am not as interested in political office and in political wealth as I'm interested of Nigerians. And
very quickly.
For people that made me a hero today. And I am living for them, and I'm going to serve them. And I will succeed.
Very quickly, as we begin to wrap up now, I'd like to ask you, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, spokesperson for President Tinubu, I said, look, all this coalition politics is dead on arrival. He has also said that, in fact, Nigerians should praise President Tinubu and praise the APC. That the reason everybody is trying to join the APC is because the APC is promoting democracy and serving the people's interests. He also made the point that in any case, politicians will always move from one party to the other, and they have the freedom of thought, speech, assembly, association, as you well know. Do you think that Mr. Ononuga is saying something to people like you who think that the coalition politics ongoing now is working?
Well, I am surprised you're still taking such comments from such people very seriously. A man who called citizens of Nigeria aliens in their own country. A man who Tinubu is even more sincere than. At least Tinubu has acknowledged in some fora that things are difficult and he takes responsibility. But this is a man that pushes responsibility to every other person except this government. The greatest liability of this president is a media aide like Bayo Ononuga. The World Bank report will say something. The inflation will say something. And they will go and rebase. Have you ever seen where they are rebasing inflation? Inflation means the rate of increase in prices of commodities and services over a period of time. And this government, I bought a bag of rice, for instance, in December, 109,000. And in March, I bought it the same price. And this government said they have rebased inflation and reduced inflation from 34% to 24%. I am not aware of any economics that performs like that. I know you rebase GDP when there are some areas you have not captured, which you are recapturing, and then you are rebasing inflation. What a dubious government. And you have a media aide that wants to sell everything, including sand, as rice to Nigerian people. Let me tell you, coalition, and let me agree that you cannot blame the ruling party for any perfidy in the opposition party. It is a legitimate political attack, a legitimate one for that matter, for the ruling party to use every means that is peaceful and not by force to see whether they can bring confusion in the camp of the opposition. Blame the opposition if they cannot gather themselves together. I am a member of the opposition, and I will always tell them, if you do not come together, you will not win a Tinubu. So if they don't come together, don't blame the ruling party. Because most of them are also looking for their stomach infrastructure. I told you that PDP is now a servant of servants. And LP under Abure is a housemate to APC. So you wouldn't blame APC if they use enticement to destroy the opposition. But you will blame APC for not giving Nigerians good governance. And because of that, Nigerians will determine who will govern them. Let me tell you, they are relying that they will write results. People going into APC is because they want to come under self-preservation of writing results. That's why I said, if you separate man from law and justice, he will become the most savage of beasts. Without it, Tinubu is already gone.
Okay, thank you very much.
And we will fight, everybody should fight, that the will of Nigeria should be secured when they go to vote in 2027.
Thank you.
And Tinubu will be out.
Thank you. But if I may defend the economists, I think many of them are into voodoo, economics. But rebasing is a technical term, like executive orders of Donald Trump, an administrative handmaiden that they use, to promote GDP and work with data and statistics. And this is what the economists do. So, that's what they do with rebasing. It's one of their, tools.
I agree with you. You can rebase a GDP. You cannot rebase inflation. Because inflation is the rate of increase in price of commodities over a period of time. So you cannot, the price cannot be rising and the inflation figures are falling down. That's voodoo. I don't understand. You can teach me.
Anyway,
Ruben Abati.
Thank you very much.
And Ruben Abati, let me say this. Remember, Ruben Abati, there was something you said. You said you like to jollof and you like to pepper soup. When I met you in an occasion and they brought beautiful jollof, I was eating my own fast, saying, this man sitting by my side likes jollof. He will finish his own and come on my own. And then you did not even eat at all. That means you rebased it. Whenever you say it has been implication, I won't agree with you next time.
My own kind of politics, when I'm in a public space, I watch the environment. So it will determine whether I will eat in public or not. But it's okay. That's another subject. Thank you very much, Kenneth Okonkwo, for joining us on The Money Show.